Hi, I'm Meshea.
Hi, I'm Peggy.
And we are Hitting the Road in Mississippi. Hello, everyone. I'm Meshea here with Miss Hit the Road herself, Peggy Brown.
Thank you, Meshea. I'm Peggy Brown, and I'm here with Miss Meshea.
I'm always...
my partner in crime.
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm always so honored that we're doing this together.
I know. Thank you. I'm honored to be doing it with you.
It's been a lot of fun so far.
It's been a lot of fun so far, and going to be more fun.
I know. We are on podcast 4, and we are going to talk about something that's already come up already, the gospel and blues connection in Mississippi.
Right.
I think we've already talked a little bit about this, but there's even a debate about which came first. It's not the chicken or the egg. It's gospel or blues. You wouldn't think, with gospel being what gospel is, that there could be such a debate. But, as you know, I've been reading a lot. I've been reading books on this, folks. There's a debate on it.
There is a debate.
There is a debate on... there are many from the blues world who feel like gospel music really wasn't what it is until blues music came around. And I've read their arguments for it, and I get it, but that's kind of a hard argument to make because people have been singing about God for a long time. So, but there is a debate about that. But our take on it is not to figure that out because we still don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. So we're not going to worry about that. But that debate does exist. Right. We can go to the fact that also the world seems to think, or growing up we did anyway, that rock and roll was the first to send music because of Ed Sullivan and Elvis with his pelvis and all of that stuff. But as you like to point out, that probably wasn't the case.
That probably wasn't the case. In the deep history of Mississippi and probably some other states in the South, a lot of people have thought that were in the church thought that the blues was the devil's music. And so you couldn't have anything to do with that. And that still holds forth today in some instances. But then the opposite of that is a lot of our Southern musicians who play blues play in the church on Sunday. And so for them, that evidently has not been an issue that they're playing the devil's music, because they'll go play in clubs on Friday and Saturday night. And then for people that I've booked in bands and stuff, they have to be back on Sunday morning because they play in the band at church.
And isn't that ironic that it was called the devil's music and that so many had a problem with it when there's actually this debate over which came first, and that some way back actually felt like blues created gospel.
Exactly.
That debate is just that debate exists when there are those who feel like blues was the devil's music. That is just that's ironic to me.
It is ironic. I personally like to say, and there's nobody has studied this. This is just something I've made up.
Audaciously.
Audaciously. Bodaciously.
Bodaciously.
That gospel music is the redemption of blues music. And I say that because you can go sing on Friday and Saturday night about how bad life's been to you and how you want it to change and how you want to be different, and then you go to church on Sunday and you actually sing the music about to God, well, I want to be different. I thank you for what you've given me. I thank you. And so I like to think that gospel music is the redemption of blues music. But in all honesty, and this is proven, there's just not a big difference between a lot of blues music and gospel music. And it comes out to be that it's pretty much the lyrics.
Whether you're singing about how bad it is in the real world, the secular world, or whether you're singing about how bad it is and you want it to be better, and so you're asking God for it to be better, or you're praising God because it's better.
Exactly. And we have several Mississippi artists. If you listen to their music intently, or maybe hardly for any length of time, you can hear the gospel feel in their blues music. Absolutely. And so I'm calling out names here, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because they both would say, they play in the church. But I'm thinking of Eddie Cotton Jr. Now, Eddie Cotton was the first musician that I heard just personally, and it doesn't mean he's the first one that existed, but that I could hear gospel in his juke joint blues show. And now he likes to get everybody up dancing, and he wants to get everybody on their feet. And, typically in a lot of black churches in the South, people are on their feet praising the Lord with their gospel music on Sunday. And he grew up in a church family in the church. And so you readily can hear gospelness in his blues. And the other one who's more recent is Castro Coleman, Mr. Sip, or Cat Cole. And he's been a gospel recording artist for years, and now he's a blues recording artist, actually with the same label that he did gospel on. And so you can hear strong gospel feel in his blues
music.
music.
Yeah, I think it's more with Eddie, you hear it.
Yes.
And with Mr. Sip / Castro Coleman, you see it. I mean, you do hear it, but you see it with his. Right. It's his stage presence is like a more modern gospel presence.
Exactly.
And he has both groups still going. He tours both. He rehearses both. He records both, as you said. He's with the label with both still. So he's openly doing both. So that is amazing to me.
That is, and he has two different bands technically, two different sets of musicians. So on his blues night, he's got that set group of musicians and then a whole different set for his gospel. And recently, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I saw advertised that he was on a festival, and on Saturday night, he was doing his blues show, and then on the very same festival, the next day, on Sunday, he was doing his gospel show. So, for a lot of people, that's not an issue. There still are some holdovers in Mississippi and maybe some of the other southern states who just don't think that musicians should be playing the blues, and it's a holdover. It really is. Very complicated, but some church people still hold to that issue.
Yeah, there's one who's been documented on the documentary that we watched, and who's in several books that you can read. That he remains anonymous, although when he performs you can see who he is, so I don't know how he remains anonymous, but when you watch the documentary you can't see him, but because he is a deacon in a church,
right,
and so he really feels like he can't have his name said,
right,
and it's like
it must be complicated.
It must be complicated. Truly, Mr. Sip / Castro Coleman, I've been to both types of his shows, and the same people taking video of him. When he's Mr. Sip, you go to the gospel, and they're taking video of him at the gospel, so they don't care. And I think this festival that you mentioned, it's going in the right direction because we need to be embracing all types of music, and we don't need to be segregating anything, including the music. And so I think that's a bold thing that they did to do that, because those two music styles are so connected. There really is a gospel blues connection. So I think a festival connecting them was a great thing.
Right, exactly.
And then of course Eddie, his marker unveiling is about the fact that he started in the church.
Right. And the marker title is From Gospel to the Blues.
Yes.
And it also includes Jerika Singleton on there, who's much younger than Eddie, but they both came from Clinton, Mississippi, and both got their starts in their churches. Now, Eddie was playing in his father's church. Jerika was playing in his grandfather's church. And interestingly enough, both of the preachers knew each other, and the story goes that one of them actually had learned how to play guitar from the other one, but they started out playing in the church. And one other interesting thing that I think belongs in several states, not just Mississippi, but something I've noticed is that these guys that start out in the church learn to play more than one instrument.
Oh, yes.
And Meshea knew about that when we talked about it. She knew that from Southern Illinois.
Oh, yeah, in Kentucky and other places, Tennessee, other places I've played. Yeah.
And so if there's somebody missing on Sunday who needs to be playing a part, they can shift the musicians around and maybe even get somebody that doesn't play regularly to come sit in and play maybe the beat on the drums. And they've got all the spots covered in the bands that they have on Sunday morning in church. So that has just been, I have marveled at that one of my best musician guys, who is a bass player, is he's solid on the guitar. And then another one who plays keyboard. I didn't know till after the fact that he is the bomb on the bass. And so it's like, oh my word. You know, like I said, I couldn't even learn to play the guitar. But these guys can
You can hold it, though.
I can hold it. And I can put it in the case and go put it in the car for them, or I can pack up theirs.
She learned a lot.
But I marvel at that talent of being able to play more than one instrument. Plus, a lot of them can even sing. So it's just, that is part of the enamor that I have with Mississippi musicians.
Well, you know, I think that kind of goes back to gospel being the redemption of the blues.
Yes.
That statement too, because
Exactly.
I don't believe church is about dogma. I believe church is about the feeling. And so I believe that the musicians have stayed in church, not for the dogma, but they have to get back on Sunday morning to play.
Right.
After playing blues on Saturday night.
Right.
Because of the feeling.
Right.
And which that's why they got into blues to begin with, is because of the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all music is about the feeling. It's not about dogma. It's about what is being said.
Exactly.
And not whatever doctrine is behind it, or whatever rules are behind it, but it's about how does it make me feel, because that's why we become artists to begin with. So
that's very true. That's a very interesting correlation.
Yeah.
And part of it, I think, too, on Sundays is about family.
Yes,
It
that
might
too.
not be their family they grew up in, but playing in church then becomes family for them as well. It's a place to belong. So that's part of it as well, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to exploring this, and then hearing as people from outside of Mississippi come in and see how they relate to it too.
Yeah.
When we cover that marker in Clinton, I'm really looking forward to see what other people have to say about it.
I am too.
Yeah.
And we hope to cover that marker really well and have at least one or two of the musicians that are on the marker come and talk to us. So that's our plan.
Yes, and I believe they're going to do it from what I gather.
Yep, I think so.
I think so, folks. So you're going to want to stick around for that, because they are two amazing artists.
Thank you for joining us. And you can reach out to us at this email address, htrprb@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any ideas you might have about what we're doing, or any suggestions about where we might go or someone we might interview.
As we are hitting the road in Mississippi.